Hello friends and gamers, my name is Jinx. Welcome to Operation Hats. This is turn number 2 for the Germans, January 1937. Let's do a quick summary, a quick overview of what the previous turn looked like. So first of all, the Germans. The Germans annexed Austria, and they moved themselves in position in Western Germany and in Eastern Germany. And apart from that, they sent a little battle cruiser and submarine over to the Bay of Biscay over here, and that's about it. Nothing too much. They sent some Lend-Lease over to the Nationalists, and the Nationalists engaged a strategy I call the Andalusian undercut, where they come in strong into Eastern Andalusia, attempting to take out those two units that the Republicans start with. They took them out with no casualties. Subsequently, the Republican Spanish attacked Eastern Andalusia and themselves took no casualties and captured that territory pretty handily. So that's what the situation is there. The USSR didn't send any Lend-Lease to the Republicans. Instead, they sent it to Abyssinia. Let's take a quick peek of what the USSR did. So they gathered up some troops in Transcaucasus, gathered up some troops in Finland area, Karelia, and then it seems to be that their front lines are starting to coalesce here, with a bastion in Kiev, maybe something in Smolensk, and something in Leningrad, with a battle group being established here as well with the entirety of their air force. And we see in Orel, Kursk, all their motorized divisions there, which are a great position to radiate outward, effectively being able to hit all the bordering regions here all along the coastline, from southern Ukraine all the way to Leningrad, effectively. Not quite Leningrad, but you know what I mean, all the way up and down. So they're looking pretty good over there. Apart from that, on the Eastern Front, they didn't do too much, maneuvered a little bit, and that brings us over to these Japanese. The Japanese coalesced some of their forces in military training maneuvers here in Rihi, and gathered themselves away from the border here. I believe there was a pact signed between the Soviet-Japanese Non-Aggression Pact over here. And we see, of course, also some more military maneuvers in the East China Sea off the coast of China, hoping to scare off some of the KMT off the coastline areas. And I believe that's essentially all there was to the Japanese on their turn. We see some of their ships here in the South China Sea, and that's effectively all that the Japanese did on their turn. Built a couple of Marines, and that is it. Turning our attentions to the Anzac, since we're down here. Not too sure what the Anzac are up to. They just, I believe, built a couple units here, moved some units around. Nothing too special on their part. They keep their transport here, but the rest of their fleet moved over to Sea Zone I-14 over here in the middle of the Indian Ocean on their way out to other parts. I suspect, I do believe the game starts with a couple units over here in New Zealand, and maybe those got shifted across to this position. Not exactly sure. I'd have to review their video. We see, of course, we have Operation Hats here. That's nice. That's something that W put together. FEC, I'm not too sure what they did. I see they have a naval transport up here near Hong Kong. I'm not sure if they're picking up or dropping off. I'm not as familiar with this game as I ought to be for all starting positions, but nothing much there. Siam succeeded on the recruitment role, so they have 1 infantry there. I was watching one of the other tournament games, and I think Siam succeeded on the recruitment role like 4 times, I believe, in a row as well. So they have quite the stack of troops down here in their game. I think that game already kicked off with war. Other than that, the FEC aren't appearing to do too much aside from building a Gurkha. They don't have much income to play with, so Gurkha is quite a valuable unit as well, especially up there in the jungles. The FEC fleet is over here in the Gulf of Aden, probably moving to the Mediterranean. We'll have to see how that pans out for them. And now we turn our attention to the British. Nothing much occurring in Egypt, and British have maneuvered their fleet off the coast of Brittany over here in A21 off the English Channel, and that's about it. The French have moved their forces into Alsace, Lorraine, and Paris, and moved their battleships to this position in A23. My suspicion is, although I haven't seen this happen at all, but if I understand my rules correctly, and yeah, I might very well be wrong, but one of the reasons that they would do this is if it so happens that it might be the case that if it so happens that the Germans don't manage to wipe out France in a single round, maybe these guys go and port, and then maybe the chances of them becoming Free French are all more likely. I know in the case of aircraft, being able to land in British territories, if you put them on maritime or air patrol, that is the case. So I'm thinking that's why they move their battleships over here. I could be wrong, of course, but I believe that is the case. And then we turn our attention to Italy. Domestically, Italy didn't do too much. It sent a Lend-Lease over there, built a naval transport. I still find it odd that they don't start with a naval transport, but hey, I'm sure there's a very good reason otherwise. Apart from that, not too much occurred. I see, of course, that the British put a submarine in M9 here, transport in Malta, probably moving some stuff around a little bit. And the Italians did attack Abyssinia. With both the French and the USSR sending mountain infantry, 1 per turn, my fear was that if I didn't get them now, then I probably would never go in and capture that territory, especially if they sent anti-aircraft guns. So I launched an attack. I calculated I had 45% chance of winning. He had 2 militia, 2 mountain infantry. I had 3 infantry, 1 cavalry, and 1 fighter. So I had a lot of small value units, but so did he. He had some cannon fodder in the shape of militia. and I had some camouflage in the shape of some infantry, but still I wasn't rolling very high numbers. I had one extra piece figurine going in than he did, but I had, I think, something like 11 pips versus his 14 pips. Yeah, 11 pips versus 14, and my only advantage was numerical superiority, and it just so happened that it worked out. It was a close thing, though, for sure. There was a couple heart-stopping moments where I survived with only a cavalry and a fighter, so if he would have scored a hit, I wouldn't have been able to capture that territory or lose my fighter in the process. And that's about it. The Americans, I'm not actually sure what all they did. They're kind of low-key for the most part, kind of not entirely on the radar. I know for the KMT forces, they coalesced the forces in Hunan, perhaps scared off by the Japanese over here. We'll have to see how that goes. And then apart from that, I'm not too sure what went on the eastern side here of America. They do have, time is in their favor, of course, with war being still far out, so they have plenty of time to get maneuvers in wherever they want to. And that about does the summary for their turn. Now we start with a German turn. As always, we're going to do our tech rolls at the end of the turn, or at least that's what I'm going to do as one kind of little, keep some of the more crucial stuff towards the back of the turn. Let's go over our purchases. We have 22 bucks to spend, and we're going to spend 21 of that. 3 for cavalry, 3 for cavalry, 2 airborne for another 6, 3 for an infantry, and 6 for a submarine. So that should bring us down to $1 left over. We do our combat maneuvers. Starting over here, our cavalry that liberated Austria is going to now go ahead and liberate Bohemia. And we're going to capture this armored unit here to represent the massive factories. Well, not the massive, but you know, they did have quite a good arms industry in Bohemia. So there we have it. We've liberated that territory. Let's boost up our income right away before we forget, up to 23. And of course, that means also the French and the British get bumped up as well to 8 and 13 respectively. So I believe that is, I believe I did the right one. Which one's the FEC? Anzac. This is FEC. All right, good. We're set. Okay, so that's one combat move we're doing, but the other combat move is, we have 2 more combat moves over here. We're doing an all-out attack into Madrid, 2 artillery and 3 infantry going in there, and then we're doing a rapid raid essentially into Basque Country, 2 fighters and 1 infantry. I did give my Republican opponent the option to roll, to scramble, and he said no, he's going to keep his units nearby home, which makes sense because if I manage to score a few hits here, he wouldn't be able to unretreat his Republican fighter. So I think it's a wise choice. I should quickly mention that one of the things I forgot to do is put my units on the board here for Abyssinia for capturing. So I got 1 colonial and 2 militia for capturing Abyssinia. So there is that situation there. Okay, we'll go over to this battle, and that will be fairly brief, I think. Nothing too special there. Let's take a peek here. So we have our battle going into Basque Country. We have our 2 fighters at 6, 1 infantry at 1. And we hope to score 1 hit at the very least. No hits, no hits. Wow, okay. And our opponent is probably gonna, with that bad luck on our end, I wouldn't be too surprised if our opponent managed to hit a 2 in defense here, taking us out of the picture. Almost had it. Okay, so we're back to square one. Now we're gonna roll for the attacking forces once again. We're hoping for a hit here. 2 hits, perfect. All right, so we definitely got them now, and now we only hope that they didn't manage to score a hit on us. Still a pretty slim chance, but it's there. It's a 3, so we missed. So if that had been in a city, he would have been able to wipe me out. So we have captured Basque Country from the enemy, and we're going to put down our roundel in that territory. Boom. And our infantry is going to walk in and capture it. Our aircraft, oops, took the wrong infantry. Our aircraft are going to land back in Galicia and Leon. Now, our attack into Madrid is 3 infantry and 2 artillery. And I've set those dice up here. 3 infantry, 2 artillery, but we're going to roll for our artillery first, because there's a chance that we can first strike the enemy. Rolling out a 2 and a 1, look at that. So we've definitely managed to wipe out the enemy before they could respond with two hits there for first strike. That's a rare occurrence when that does occur, but hey, we will take whatever win we can get. So far, we've been quite lucky with our Spanish nationalists, and when we've been rolling the dice, we've been successful. But when our opponent is, we haven't. That's not saying anything at all about anything, people. I'm just commenting how life is funny sometimes. All right, so there's that. We put our units on the board, and now we turn our attention to non-combat. So non-combat, nothing too dramatic. We're going to move from Bohemia, our light infantry, and from Berlin, our light infantry, and they're both going to go to Eastern Germany. I like to play around a little bit, so I don't necessarily always do the optimal strategy. So building light armor, I'm not sure if it was a good idea last turn. I kind of just wanted to do it. It seemed to work out with the strategy I had in mind at the time, although that might shift as things move around. And then navally, we're going to move some units, starting with the battle cruiser and submarine. They have 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3. Neither of them are going from a port. So 1, 2, 3, they go from A28 into M2 here in the Mediterranean Sea. And we're also going to move additional ships here. We're going to move transport, torpedo boat destroyer, and a regular destroyer. And they are going to go, they can only move at maximum 2 spaces, so 1, 2, 3 from the port. So they're going to move to A21 and squeeze in here alongside the magnificent British and see what the British are up to. A little bit of a cross, share some champagne and the like. And what else? We got a submarine and a torpedo boat destroyer. We're going to say, we're going to take our submarine and move 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces to A28. So from A11 to A28. All right. I believe that about covers it. So we need to roll for recruitment roll for Spain. And then we're going to go ahead and start placing our units on the board, I believe. All right. So recruitment roll for Spain. I have a dice tower right here. Doesn't really matter which one. Oops, these are for my recruitment roll. It's a 2, it's a success. These are for my tech rolls I'll do later on. But yeah, 2 is a success. I guess I should clean up the dice there for the next person if they so happen to want to do that. But 2 is a success, and we get to get a unit out of the picture. So we're going to go ahead and get an infantry. I think I'm going to place him here. Yeah, that's a good spot for him. An infantry there. I didn't expect to be successful with that, to be honest. Alright, we're going to get in there, and then we're going to place our national infantry that we get. We're also going to place in Western Andalusia, I do believe. Could he attack here? He could. I have a militia in place. Maybe I'll just do that. I have a militia coming in from the heavy cruiser, so I'd protect my fighters. I think it'd be foolhardy for him to do something about that. He might attack here, but that puts him out of position to protect Catalonia. So yeah. Alright, anyways, we'll leave it at that. We'll put the one we lend-leased is going to come over to Galicia and Leon, and the one we recruited, Western Andalusia. There we have it. Moving on to the regular place unit phase, so we have our 2 cavalry. We're going to place these guys in Berlin. And then we have our 2 airborne. We're going to put them in Western Germany. And our submarine is going to go into A11. Now, kudos out there to the veteran. I think he mentioned that I can't actually build a unit in port, which I think is a little dumb, because why couldn't you build a unit and keep it in the shipyard that built it? But whatever, it's what it is. It's not, it's probably might break some other rule out there that I'm not too aware of. Perhaps the idea is a person could, whatever, there's probably good reasons for it. All right, I believe that's everything that we need to think about. Now let's go ahead and roll for our technology dice. I do feel like I'm missing something. So recruitment roll here, good. We moved some units around here, excellent. We've upgraded up our unit amount there, so we're good on that side. Move some ships around, good. I think that's it. So let's roll for our technology and then call it a day. So we have 4 techs we're rolling for this time: advanced mech, advanced artillery, improved constructions, and submarines. These are all labeled in the appropriate colors, so we're gonna just these need to be a 7 or better, and this one needs to be an 8. So what does this say? It says 9, so that could be questioned, but this one here, advanced artillery, is a success. 5, 2, 8. So 8 for advanced artillery. We go up to stage 2. Everything else is a miss, and now this one, it does look cocked. And if I was to say anything, I would say perhaps it would be more in favor of a 7 than a 9, but the dice little tooltip here says it's a 9. So I'm going to take that as a success for advanced submarines and move them up. So 2 out of 4 ain't too shabby. So there was that. I'm going to just move these over here. Maybe somebody else likes the bigger dice. And so there's that. Now we go ahead and collect our income. There's $1 left over. Now we're collecting 23 bucks this turn, so that brings us up to a nice and tidy 24 available to spend on a subsequent turn. I think that's it. We're going to hand things over to the lovely 5-star general to see how he leads the mighty workers nation in support of the workers of the world, something like that. And let's see what he does in regards to the Republic in Spain. I'm excited to see how that pans out. All right, gents, thank you all for watching. Cheers.